Fungus is a diverse kingdom of life, like animalia or bacteria. It has many unique organisms in a range of biological niches, from mind-controlling parasites to underground networks connecting entire forests together to composite organisms that fuse multiple kingdoms of life. With only less than 5% of fungus studied and documented, the field of mycology is just getting started, and already it has the potential to rewrite our understanding of science, biology, and nature itself. So here are 10 facts and theories about fungus that will change your worldview. Number 10. Fungi terraformed the planet. Before life went terrestrial, the Earth's land was a volcanic wasteland of rocky terrain. Fungus that evolved from the ocean moved to land, using its thread-like organ system called hyphae to bore and drill into the rock, digesting minerals and over time breaking apart the rock, thus creating the first type of soil which allowed other organisms like plants to evolve on land. They essentially unlocked a new resource for the planet. On top of that, spores influence the weather and can propagate precipitation by giving water molecules something to bind to, called seeding. On a side note, I had a dream that I was with a colony settling on a new planet, which was like a Martian wasteland, and we released fungus into the planet and terraformed it almost instantaneously in the dream. So yeah, if you want to terraform a planet by decomposing rock material while building an atmosphere, fungus is the way to go. Number 9. Lichen. Lichen are complex. They are a mutually beneficial symbiosis of certain fungus and usually algae or bacteria. Lichenization is the process of fungus to become symbiotic with the algae in a relationship unique to all other life. The fungus and plants, or bacteria, fuse, and the hyphae go into the cells of the partner organism and form arbuscules, which are tiny tree-like patterns, and this is where the nutrient exchange takes place. There are very many lichens, and some have unique properties being studied for medicinal use. They are an indication of good air quality, as they are easily affected by pollution. The first and oldest land plant, liverwort, teamed up with fungus, and it was lichens that started to absorb carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen, allowing the rest of life to evolve. Number 8. Fungal hacking. Depending on the fungus and host organism, a particular fungus may hack into the cells of another organism to take it over and control it, or to establish a mutually beneficial and sometimes altruistic relationship. It is this property of going in and between cells with the hyphae that makes fungus such an effective hacker. They can quite literally fuse, digest, and replace nerves and other filaments in cells and appendages of plants and animals. Most popular is, of course, the cordyceps that infects the leafcutter ants, mind-controlling them until the time to fruit. Researchers spent a long time trying to figure out what was fungus and what was ant muscle. They eventually had to train an AI to find the difference because one single muscle took 3 months. It is a fungal ability to create mimic cells to what their host has. This makes fungal infections hard to fight because it's hard to spot. The cellular makeup is already nearly identical to animal and plant cells alike. Their further adaptability and malleability only allow them to camouflage themselves in their host organism easier. At a certain point, destroying the symbiotic fungus would leave microscopic holes where they used to be as they replace the regular host organ's cells. Neural hacking is a theory of mind that fungus, like the symbiotic candida or the pathogenic black molds, can cause a wide range of neural and nervous system issues. For example, overgrowth in candida leading to sugar cravings and fatigue and lethargy when not consuming sugar as a punishment-reward system to manipulate you into eating that diet which is more beneficial to the fungus than to you, perhaps by taking advantage of dopamine. We already know the microbiome is perhaps the most important factor in your health, and fungus makes up a significant portion of that microbiome, which we do need to survive. but an overgrowth or infection causes it to go rampant in the body. Mental health issues are continually being linked to dietary reasons. I propose that it is that hacking ability that leads to the degradation of mental function over a lifetime, or exposure to a specific toxic fungus, like black mold, that can cause adverse health effects without our understanding of what's going on, in part because of their ability to blend in with the host. There is also another speculative mycological theory of mine I call microdosing mycotoxins, in which, of the billions of spores we breathe in on a day-to-day basis, some might be capable of temporary and subtly leading to bouts of moodiness, hallucination, a sense of trippiness, confusion, paranoia, giggles, yawning, and a host of other anomalies that we don't fully grasp, that come and go and leave behind no permanent damage. Brain neurons can recover extremely fast and leave no trace of microscopic spore interaction. Number 7. Yeast domesticated humans. Yeast gives us alcohol and bread, among other products like vinegar and some cheeses and chocolate. It is said that through our domestication of grains, wheat, corn, and other crops, humans could provide the resources to sustain settled communities. Through bread making and brewing, food could be transformed and preserved and purified. Alcohol was an important way to get nutrients and medicine and have clean water. It is safe to say that human history would have been drastically different without yeast. It has also been discovered that brewer's yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, originated in China and spread throughout the entire world, being found in everything from toenails to trees and many other foods and beers. The researchers sequenced the genome of this species to arrive at their conclusions, but I guess it's the classic debate of who came first, or who domesticated who. Or should it be considered more of a mutually beneficial relationship? Either way, yeast's inexorable consumption and reproduction of anything containing sugar is why fruit grows with skin around it. Skin is a protective layer shielding yeast from devouring it. But if there is damage in any way, yeast will move in, as it's one of those spores in the air at all times. Alcohol was created by yeast as a byproduct of their digestion to kill bacteria. They zone out sugar through the synthesis of alcohol. Humans, birds, butterflies, and other animals have then evolved to be able to metabolize that alcohol, which leads to intoxication. Keep in mind, yeast lives in us and on us as well. Perhaps our microbiome had a role in giving humans the adaptation to drink alcohol, making us crave it and therefore cultivate and spread it. Number 6. Mycorrhizal Fungus. Similar to the lichen, the mycelium, the body of many fungi, has learned how to connect to plants through the roots and underground networks that span entire forests. What goes on is nutrient exchange, communication of danger, and even though scientists try to avoid this type of language, trade. Trees provide sugar, while the mycelium provides things like nitrogen they can get from eating dead material. What becomes fascinating about this is that through the network, one tree can give resources to another tree, or a mycelium can give resources to another mycelium that it's not directly connected to. They communicate through electrical impulses, allowing for them to undergo morphological changes to meet whatever challenge they may face in the forest. One particular tree doing poorly may receive nutrients from a mycelium at the cost of a returning interest, or sometimes it is altruistic with only the benefit of the forest being considered. Some mycorrhizal fungi are exclusive to certain trees, while others are generalists. It is partly through this understanding of the network and lichenization that makes me think other fungi are capable of similar things in humans and animals through your symbiotic fungus or an infection. Certain behavioral reactions are initiated based on fungal communication of your cells or nerves, hence why an overgrowth of candida could potentially lead to sugar addiction, aka the fungi is craving food and communicating through your gut brain. And for the networks, they found that forests or plants in general grow exponentially faster and healthier with the mycorrhizal fungus. Number 5. The cause of disease. If you are sick or have a wound, or the immune system is compromised in any way, fungus will be present. Fungi are the main decomposers of the planet. Decomposition is a fancy way of saying digestion. A corpse or food doesn't just disintegrate over time. Something has to be eating it. That something is fungus in many cases. If you don't finish your bread in a couple weeks, mold will start to eat it, from the spores naturally everywhere, and they will begin to eat and fruit in your leftovers. This is how sickness and disease works. Mammals were able to evolve because they were warm-blooded. The temperature of our bodies is ideal to kill most pathogenic microorganisms. When that fluctuates, or our pH levels change, or other hormones cause us to be exposed, we will immediately begin to be decomposed. Being sick or having a cold is a general term to describe the methods in which the body fights off invading organisms. A fever, mucus expelling, sneezing, coughing, vomiting, things like that are ways the body tries to purge itself. Mucus itself is being discovered to contain many antifungal properties. Now, obviously, bacteria, viruses, and other malfunctions of cellular processes can lead to disease, but always in those instances, your body will be invaded by fungus. Now, this is a controversial subject, but cancer could be a fungus. And even if it's not, it behaves and is affected in all the same ways a fungal infection is. It's anaerobic and likes sugar and acidity, while mimicking the body's own cells as it grows and takes over. But even regardless of that, fungal infections are being realized as a huge contributing factor to cancer patient mortality, especially those who have undergone chemotherapy, who have their immune systems weakened, which allows for fungus to come in. So it's not necessarily vital for any argument to say cancer is a fungus, but it is interesting. I personally think it's related in some way, or maybe the cells turning cancerous is a defaulting to some ancient genetic process back when animals and fungi shared a more common ancestry. Even something like malaria, it's being researched, ultimately comes from a fungus that infects a mosquito. And this fungus, it doesn't damage them in any way other than it makes them immune compromised, allowing them to be susceptible to the parasite that can then infect humans through the mosquito bite. Fungus is just responsible for all these sorts of background processes we don't consider. The tiniest cut in your body can turn into an infection. It's all these microorganisms getting in. The reason dirt, plastic, metals, and other toxic materials are so harmful to humans, if they get in you, is not so much those things are damaging you, rather it allows for fungus to grow, like a sort of base of operations. Even things like acne are just fungi that get into your damaged skin, and your body has to isolate the infection leading to the pus and inflammation. You clear skin and health issues through antifungal foods and ointments and chemicals and just cleaning your microbiome. Number 4, the cure of disease. On the other hand, the diversity of fungus means there are options to fixing all of our worst problems. A fungus is being trained and engineered to kill the malaria-carrying mosquitoes. A test killed about 99% of the mosquitoes they were experimenting on in their enclosure in a month and a half. Fungi can learn how to decompose toxic waste like plastic, cigarettes, and even radiation. Mushrooms found in Chernobyl feed off the radiation. In many cases, the mushroom is edible or usable for biodegradable building and packaging material. Some fungi are highly nutritious, have antifungal properties themselves, antioxidants, and even psychedelic mushrooms are being studied to treat addictions and severe mental issues. Penicillin was derived from a fungus that, like alcohol, was made to zone out bacteria. Eventually that penicillin was outdated, and the bacteria learned to beat it. There was a scare that the bacteria were becoming superbugs, and they'd have to find new cures to fight these superbacteria. But on a quick trip outside, in a random soil sample, they found the penicillin-producing fungus, and it had already updated its formula to beat the bacteria. You see, by cultivating the same penicillin for so long, it became outdated. But the fungus in nature is always in that sort of cold war with bacteria. The same thing can be said for safe pesticides and reforestation efforts, and just cleaning up pollution. Fungus can be used in those ways, taking advantage of their mastery of chemical conversion and decomposition. Number 3. Is fungus intelligent? Fungus may be a highly intelligent and sentient organism, perhaps in a way different from us, but in their own way, sentient and intelligent. They communicate and learn. They are being used to compute data. They make electrical signals and music. They act altruistically, selfishly, or mutually beneficial. They can solve problems, learn how to break down new chemicals. They respond to intentions, music, thoughts, and words. This experiment you can do at home, called the rice experiment, pits multiple jars of rice, each with a different label, to see how they grow mold over the weeks. The experiment claims this to be a water consciousness experiment, yet all that can be observed is the differing growth of mold, suggesting if anything is being influenced by vibrations or whatever, it is the mold. Fungi can coordinate and do things at the same time across large distances. There's the case of the slime mold learning the best route to take for efficiency, and this is without mentioning the theories involving psychedelic mushrooms and fungus trips. Maybe it's a lot like naming your plant and it grows healthier. There's a lot going on in the microscopic level that we are unaware of. We are composed of microscopic material, so it is not illogical to think that it is the microscopic stuff that the process of nature and life and consciousness come from. Nothing would have evolved without fungi, certainly not in the complexity that it has. Number 2. Fungus is the paranormal. Another bit of my speculative mycological theories puts a lens over folklore, mythology, and superstitious belief with mycology. Only within the last couple centuries did humans discover the microscopic world. Before this, they described in many instances microscopic processes accurately, only they used spiritual or metaphysical explanation, which is fair. Demons, curses, magic, spirits, possession, miracles, gods. Most of these were just personifications or ways of understanding the world in a way that made sense. We tend to apply human terms to things we don't fully understand to get a better grasp on them. For example, the burning of incense, the hanging of garlic, the writing of spells, the circles of salt, the placing of wind chimes outside your house. All of these superstitious ways to ward off evil, these are all antifungal, antimicrobial practices. Garlic is a known antifungal. Salt was used to preserve food before refrigeration because it creates an environment that mold and yeast can't live in. Wind chimes reach decibel levels capable of causing cell damage to certain microbial organisms. Even the spells and symbols can be attributed to that intention, which is basically what a placebo is, which is proven to work in some instances. So these methods of keeping evil spirits away happen to be all mainly physical and chemical interactions on the microbial level. A spirit cannot enter a house with garlic or incense. The spirits were never these other dimensional beings. They were odorous, wind-like, and invisible. It's become abstract today, that's true, but back then, an infection or a disease was considered to be a demonic infestation. That demon was whatever mold, probably black mold in many cases, that entered the house and got into the body or food source. But it's not only that. Humans worshipped the forces that turned water into beer. They were gods, and without their intentions and rituals, humans wouldn't have successfully settled. But those rituals were successful in bringing wild yeast to their brews. Rain dances and fertility rituals were ways of asking the gods, the sporification of the clouds, to produce rain. The divine and spiritual and paranormal were correctly attributed to be some intelligent, benevolent, even capricious entities. Without microscopes, they came up with the legends we are familiar with. Now, with microscopes and the emergence of mycology and microbiology, we can go back and see how those trends of human beliefs originate in ways to defend fungus and mold from their home, and they just became more abstract as time went on. I've made several videos on this subject alone, exploring the theory further. Number 1. The Fungal Consciousness Database. Perhaps my ultimate theory is that fungus have a collective information network. Think of it like the cloud. They can upload and extract information from it as they please, probably through some electrical wave or electromagnetic connection. Fungus is not a hive mind, but they do have access to the stored data. Humans connect to this through fungal infections. Sickness and insanity seem to lead directly to creativity, perception, knowledge, and skill, and that's at the cost of declining health. When fungus connect to your nerves and neurons, you are able to tap into the consciousness database. This quote from Edgar Allan Poe kind of illustrates the connection. Men have called me mad, but the question is not yet settled, whether madness is or is not the loftiest intelligence. There seems to be a correlation of physical and mental disease to better thinking and awareness. In sci-fi and fantasy, this is unconsciously represented by the formless evil that corrupts nature or the wizard, infecting their mind and turning them into evil puppets while giving them stronger powers. I believe the database explains phenomena from the religious ideas of enlightenment and higher consciousness, global trends of developing things at the same time, even though there was no contact, even learning new words and seeing everyone else start to use them. The phenomena of synchronizing heartbeats, hormones, body rhythms, and periods across the world could be explained by the connection of the fungal database. The one constant, I think, in all these examples and cases. Even feelings of reincarnation or past life memories and feeling the presence of lost loved ones or ancestor communication is all occurring on the microbial level and that microbial database. In that sense, haunted houses and graveyards are fungus with that memory of intense cruelty and violence, making more dangerous spores and perhaps more toxic, and causing the seemingly irrational and inexplicable fear and paranoia and hallucinations and hauntings associated with the paranormal. In general, consciousness and intelligence is coming from the microbial level. I think fungus have a cloud, or whatever you want to call it, that enables them to share and access data, which is partly why they are so good at manipulating their environments. Number 0. As a bonus theory, I do think it will be possible to connect fungus to our own computers and artificial intelligence and allow for several things. Communication with fungus by learning their language, maybe through machine learning via a sort of mycorrhizal wire they can grow into. Fungus cyborgs. You could potentially teach and integrate a fungus and robot to work together, and some preliminary studies have been done with slime mold on a simple bot. The potentials are truly endless for fungus. The most understudied and misunderstood aspect of life and nature is the entire diverse kingdom of fungus. Imagine if we knew nothing about dogs, cats, birds, squirrels, ants, and all the other critters that live with us. That would be crazy, to live with those animals and not learn about them. And that's what's happening with fungus and microbes in general. We need to learn them, how they operate, and what they are capable of, and how they affect us. Many people suffer from mold and mycotoxins without ever realizing it, and they spend their lives suffering. This ended up being a bit longer than I intended, but that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.